Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
Or should we say annyeonghaseyo? I'm Matthew, because this new unfamiliar face behind us is the new KGM Torres.
That's right, it's the EVX, and I would basically just say we're all going Gangnam style on this. Okay, now you guys probably haven't heard of KGM, or most of you probably haven't, and that's because it used to be SsangYong, and rather than go through a whole new rigmarole of launching a whole new brand, although they sort of had, they're actually leveraging, as you'll see when you see some of the signage, some of the SsangYong history, which I'm reliably informed SsangYong is the oldest Korean automotive maker. So there you go, in your face, Kia and Hyundai. Anyway, speaking of faces, what we have here is the full EV face of the EVX, and what that comes with is this beautiful light bar across the front. And as you'll look, you'll see it's got 6 slats, because I can't say 7 slats because it does have very much a Jeep look about it, as you will see. The rest of the front here is very aerodynamic and, I don't know, very well, EV-ish, which is great, but very dominant front. And the thing that I like about this bonnet here is these big grooves in the bonnet, but also these here, which are sort of thrown on to make a bit of artistic viewpoint, but I was thinking of sort of slapping an animal across here and tying it down. It's sort of got that adventurous look about it. Now as you move down the side here, you'll see that the lights are directional, or the indicator lights are directional, and as you carry on around the side here, in keeping with borrowing other car design looks, you've got these wheel arches here which are sort of straight out of a Kona. But the wheels themselves are very SsangYong themselves, and you can see there's a badge there, and as it turns out they're 20 inches as well, so nice and sizable with plenty of rubber on them. Carrying on, if you want to know about the size, this vehicle sits in between the Corando and the Rextons. You've got roof rails here, you've got actually quite a nice character sort of shape to around the side here, so nice indent on the doors. Most are supposed to be an indent there, and some protective garnish here on the sills, and the overall look looks very much sort of, I don't know, Ford Explorer like, if you think about its sort of size and shape. And as you come down here, you've got this sort of, I guess, again, blacked out sort of almost Defender-like look as well. Across the top here, we've got a nice roofline spoiler, and there's your stoplight. Nice blacked out privacy glass, because I'm obviously from England. The door themselves or the rear door here is very much in keeping with the Defender sort of look as well. So it's got this handle here, but don't think it swings out that side, because it swings up that way. Don't ask me why, but it is quite a good look, or an unusual look. And you've got some lovely LED tail lights here. Round the bottom here, obviously no exhaust pipe because it is battery driven. Let's go and see what powers it. Now the charge port here is obviously AC and DC, and that charges a 73.4 kilowatt hour battery, but it's not a normal battery, it's a blade battery straight off of, well, you may recognize it from the likes of a BYD, straight out of China. But the good news is this has got a vehicle to load capabilities as well, so you can actually power your hairdresser or your hair stuff, and I don't know, your fridge or whatever you happen to be camping with or taking away. Its main purpose obviously is charging the front wheel motor, or front wheel drive motor, and that is 150 kilowatts of power and 339 newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 is roughly 8.1 seconds, so actually roughly, when I'm being very specific. And also when it comes to range, it's around about 462 kilometers, so I don't say it's necessarily going to be the same thing if you're going at 8 seconds and trying to put your foot down all the time, but there is quite a good regen as well.
So just like the exterior, as Dave just showed you, the interior of the Torres is a similar mix of various different design elements. You can see certain other brands' influence in here as well, but all in all, it's a pretty nice package for what it offers and the quality of the materials and things in here. For example, you have this big sort of copper / bronze panel that goes across the dashboard, adding a little pop, or should I say K-pop, of color. That also extends to the contrast stitching which goes around the top of the dashboard there, all soft as well. And all these things down the middle, these panels, everything is screwed together pretty well. There's no sort of shaking or rattling around. it's quite impressive all around. And if you remember, this is essentially the first car to be a proper KGM vehicle, if you like, rather than this sort of weird SsangYong hybrid leftover concept. And as I mentioned before, feature packed, well, it certainly is. So you do get heated seats for both driver and passenger. You get ambient lighting across the dashboard and into the doors as well. I mean, so many features in here. A wireless charging pad as well. There's plenty in the infotainment screen, as I'll get to in a moment. They've also thought about your USB-C chargers, which are down there, 12-volt socket, and then your storage spaces. I mean, you've got 2 cup holders, you've got sort of shelving underneath here, you've got really large door cubbies as well, which can fit coffee cup, a bottle, and a lot more things. And then, of course, a pretty generous under armrest space over here as well. Now, I mentioned before that this central infotainment screen is feature packed, but just to give you an idea of some of the features available, if I bring up this air conditioning menu like so, you can see heated seats and ventilated seats available for both the driver and passenger at the front. 3 ways as well. You've got heated steering wheel there, and if I swipe down there, you can see that you've got a 360-degree camera view, you've got hill descent control there, and of course some other adjustments. And then if I go into the menu here, you can see that there is Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, obviously Bluetooth connectivity as well, and USB connectivity there. So plenty of stuff going on there. The other thing I want to point out here is the rear seat sleep. When you press that, it actually turns off the speakers at the back so that your rear passengers can, well, go to sleep, and then you can have your music only at the front over here. Other couple of things to point out, you've got EV mode there, and if I click on that, you get some information about the range left in terms of battery percentage as well as kilometers, and then your charging information and settings there. Head back to this screen and you've got general and vehicle settings, and if I go into vehicle settings, you can access things like the cluster setup, so the sounds as well as the display available in various different options there. You've got lighting options as well, including the interior ambient lighting. I want to point out the really unique lemon chiffon color lighting as well, because why not? And then head back, and then there's a lot of different features that you can change as well. Note the virtual engine sound there too, of which you have 2 different options like so. Now the driver instrument cluster also follows the same sort of theme as you had on the central infotainment screen. You can see that very sort of blue and nice horizon look to it that they've got there. The other thing is, take a look at the display there. So you've got on the left your range in terms of kilometers, on the right your speed, and then in the middle some trip information, but that is changeable as well. And down the bottom you've got your settings, your battery percentage, as well as, well, whether the car's ready to go or not. The other interesting thing is, sticking with the directional and almost the adventurous theme that this car has, you can see that it's got a compass on the front there, also showing you your direction. Taking a step back to the steering wheel, it's a really nice chunky unit. You've got plenty of buttons all around, and of course that SsangYong badge in the middle there, playing on the brand's history as the oldest Korean car manufacturer around. The buttons themselves, on the left you control your audio settings like so, as well as your phone settings there, and your lane keep assist and that sort of thing. While on the right side you have your adaptive cruise control like so, and then your button to change what you can see in the middle as well. So option of navigation, audio input, trip, or your sort of safety settings and your ADAS. So there is plenty of customization available as well for the screen in front. At the back here, the story is very much the same with this KGM Torres. So you've got plenty of space in the back here. If I sit back, look at how much knee room I have there. Foot room is plenty as well, and headroom, there's about a ton of that too. This central seat is wide enough for, well, an almost adult to sit in, and there's a very minimal transmission tunnel there, meaning that it's generally a comfortable place and can seat 3 as well when the occasion arises. In terms of practicalities, you've got plenty of storage cubbies and pockets in here, back of the seat, the door bins as well, pretty generous there. And then of course you've got a central armrest that will fold down with a couple of cup holders. And then there are two really interesting things at the back here. So firstly, both passengers on either side have seat heating, two levels of it as well, which is controllable via the door. And then the other thing is the headrests have this really unique shape to them and a little nook behind, and this is to hang a coat on the back of your seat as well. So they really have thought about some of the practicalities and even luxuries as well with the Torres experience. Speaking of experience though, let's go and take it for a drive.
Alright, so the thing I forgot to bring up, or haven't brought up yet, is where the name Torres comes from. And actually it's from the Torres del Paine, which is a national park in Chile. So why they've named it after that, I have no idea, but there you go. It's a Chile car that actually isn't very chilly because it's got heated seats, so it's very cool from there. The other thing is the KGM are bringing out 3 models for New Zealand. So you have a Torres four-wheel drive, which will be up-spec'd, and the EVX. Obviously this has got a ton of the spec and also the Blade battery.
The other interesting thing I think for me is whether it be the Torres name or the way the car looks or any of the features, to be honest. For KGM, when they're relaunching a brand and trying to, I guess, re-enter almost a new market or even enter a new market altogether, they want a car that'll get attention, get looks, get press, effectively get coverage. And I think the way to do it is to make your car stand out somehow. And they've gone for very much that sort of angle in terms of both the design as well as packing it with features, the name. They try to keep everything as interesting and as attention, I wouldn't say attention seeking almost, but attention worthy, because driving this thing along the road, or when I've seen other Torreses on the road, it grabs people's attention, it attracts curiosity, and that's exactly what they would want for a new brand and for a new car.
You're right. I think they're trying, or they're leveraging the fact that it's unconventional, and it is unconventional looking, even from the grab handles on the bonnet, which are ideal for stunt drivers, but just something slightly odd about it, but not ugly. It's bizarre. It's one of those ones that it's a vehicle that you keep looking at and going, oh yeah, I see that, or that looks interesting, and I think that's part of its charm.
It was interesting because earlier Dave and I were just having a look at the side profile of the car, and the lines and sort of angles and things are all over the place. You know, they shouldn't fit together individually, but somehow all together it just sort of works.
And then there's the drive itself. I mean, the steering feels nice. If you lean it too far into corners, it does sort of, the front wheel just start to get a little bit, I guess, looser. But that's only when you're driving it like an idiot, which I tend to do every now and again. But on the whole, it's a comfortable, smooth ride that, you know, it's really befitting its big size and EV-ness.
And that's the real sort of key thing about it is, yes, it's value packed, you know, the features are amazing, the styling is attractive and all of that, but then they've gone and used the electric technology, I think, to a really well extent, because the cabin is so quiet, you barely hear any wind noise despite the way the car looks. No wind noise or barely any. I mean, there's no tire noise. It's just a very quiet and relaxing place to be.
Visibility all round is great. Even the rear, windscreen is great. You're sitting quite high. So all of that stuff's really good. And also, you've got your 360-degree cameras for when you're in those tight shopping spaces. And this will fill a shopping space quite admirably.
It is. There's no way of hiding its size. It certainly is a large SUV, and then you just get an idea of that when you're sitting in here. The back seats, for example, oodles of space there, and similarly with the boot, it is, immensely practical, and its size is certainly allowed for it to be so. They haven't wasted any space in here.
No, and the cornering, as I say, we're actually going through some relatively tight corners, some 35 kilometer per hour advertised corners, and it's not lolloping around. It's feeling very tight, and the steering is not vague. It's it's actually really quite good. The thing that does bug me a little bit is when you're slipping between drive and reverse, it does go into neutral first, so you have to sort of double tap to go forwards and backwards, which I haven't seen on many or any other vehicle yet.
And I think that's certainly what sums up the Torres in a way, is its individuality, you know, the styling, some of the nuances in here, that sort of thing, the combination, the almost Frankenstein combination of other cars and other design languages. It's unique. There's no other car like it, and I say that, I think, in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, I think the designers probably had a field day, really. They put a bit of this together, a little bit of that, and came up with something quite unique and quite complementary, even though, you know, should be very conversely looking. I don't know. It's fun. It's a fun vehicle. So there you have it, the new KGM EVX Torres, or Torres EVX, really is trying to make the point that it has moved from SsangYong, which is really, people thought was a Chinese brand. It really is underlining the fact that it is a Korean brand, and it really is the Korean craftsmanship and characteristics are right there. It's got a lot of culture, a lot of pop culture. The outside paintwork pops. Anyway, it's good. It is a nice car, and it is, or SUV, and priced very well too.
I've got to say, it's interesting. Be it its design, the features, the name choice, all of that, it's interesting. And it certainly sparks curiosity, and well done to KGM for doing exactly that.
Yeah, not a bad start. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. See ya.